Hello, welcome to LifeTalk Now. I'm Mark Crutcher.
And I'm Renee Hobbs. Thank you for joining us.
Well, Renee, this is a sad day.
It is.
Sad show we have to do here. Norma McCorvey passed away.
She did.
For people who may not be aware of who she is, she was the Jane Roe in Roe versus Wade, and later became pro-life, turned her life around, and saw what she had been a part of.
Right.
And I met her many times. She was here on LifeTalk a few times in the past, and I had a pretty long relationship with her since right after she came over to the pro-life side. But you only met her once.
I did, yeah. We went and picked her up and took her out to eat, and had a short little visit with her.
Yeah, we spent probably a couple hours.
We did.
Yeah, visiting with her because I wanted you to meet her. And it's kind of a. I've been surprised over the last couple of days since this happened of how much it has kind of bothered me. And it's like anyone else. I mean, you lose somebody, that you know and that you've had a relationship with. It's always going to bother you. But I think one of the things that affects me is that, and Norma had told me this before, and she'd told other people that had interviewed her, and she kind of hit on it when you and I were talking with her. She knew that God had forgiven her for her role, but she had never forgiven herself. Yeah. And I think she died. I haven't talked to her in some time. Well, the last time I talked to her was when you and I went and visited with her, and that was a year or so ago. But my suspicion is that she died having never forgiven herself.
Right. Well, I mean, I can only imagine how hard that had to have been to live with the fact that something you were a part of has killed over 60 million babies.
Right.
So, and to forgive herself for that would probably have been extremely hard. But
well, it's like all these women that you and I talk to who've had an abortion, and I mean, what percentage of these women will say that? They'll tell us. I mean, I'd say it's well over half of them.
Oh yeah.
Will say,
right.
I know God has forgiven me. When we start talking about the issue of their spiritual life and whatever kind of relationship they have with Christ or whatever, and then we'll talk about this issue of forgiveness, and they'll all tell you. They'll say, I know God's forgiven me. I just can't forgive myself.
Yeah. I think it's human nature for us to do that, though. I think when something that impactful has happened in our lives, it's really hard to forgive, but only by God's grace,
right,
and mercy on us.
And I guess the good news is, I know the good news is that if that's true, that she died without ever forgiving herself, at least now she's living with the peace that she never got here.
That's right. Yeah.
And she was when anytime you would sit and talk with Norma for any length of time. You would see that she was a very conflicted person. And, she obviously became very staunchly pro-life. But she recognized that she had been used by
Linda Coffey and Sarah Weddington.
Linda Coffey and Sarah Weddington. And I've always said, I don't know why these two women haven't been disbarred, because as you remember when we talked to Norma here in Dallas when we took her out to eat, she says Coffey and Weddington both knew that she was lying about having been raped. So they sent a case to the Supreme Court that they knew was based on a fraud.
Right. Yeah.
And they knew that.
Right. Well, and Norma was their guinea pig, and if it wasn't Norma, it was going to be somebody else.
It's going to be somebody else. But Norma told us Norma knew what she was and who she was and so forth. She was very comfortable. I mean, she said, I was a street kid. Most people may not know this. She was literally homeless. I mean, she was living in Lee Park in Dallas. She told us where she lived in Lee Park. She said, I can take you down there and show you the stand of trees that I lived under.
Yeah. Yeah, she kind of went into detail about her younger life with us.
Right. And she said she was a ready-made victim for these two. Here you had two ambitious, educated, well-to-do women who were looking for someone, and Norma said they were looking for someone just like me.
Yeah, somebody that they could intimidate and
manipulate
and pour their power over her and make her do whatever she wanted.
And that's what they did. And so you had these two what I would call savages that were trying to make abortion legal so they could see as many babies killed as possible.
Right.
And they had to have a particular kind of person
Right.
that they could control, and that's what they had. And and Norma made the point too to us when we visited with her that the second that this thing was over, they had no more use for her. And she said they were actually embarrassed of her. They didn't want to be seen with her in public because they were educated and they were in the, the brie, cheese, and wine crowd, the upper crust, ultra-left, liberal,
Right.
Illuminati, so to speak. And she was this street girl from Dallas, she called a street kid, and she wasn't educated and she wasn't very smart. And Norma told us, she said they were embarrassed of me. And she said I could see that when we'd go someplace, they would just kind of push me off into the back. Oh, that's Norma McCorvey over there. Now you go away, and now we can talk with our with our upper crust friends.
Right.
And she felt a little insecure, or not, I don't know if insecure is the right word, but she felt beneath them, like they were looking down their noses at her.
Right.
And it's interesting to note too that the second that she turned and became pro-life, they started attacking her. And they started saying things like that, well, that she was uneducated and easily controlled, and so the pro-lifers got a hold of her and they turned her around and they did this and they did that. But before, that's not what they were saying about her.
Right.
They only said those things about her once she became pro-life.
Well, Norma wanted something bigger than what had happened,
Right.
and she wanted to turn it around. And
she did.
She did.
And
she did what she could.
one thing I told Norma one time in a phone conversation that I had with her, she was talking about all the babies that were dead because of what she'd done, and I said, well, yeah, but Norma, there's a lot of babies that are alive because of what you've done too.
Right.
And don't just look at the
dismiss it.
negative, and but you and I can't identify with that.
No, not
it's
at
easy
all.
for us to say, well,
Right.
accept Christ's forgiveness and go on about your life, and
Right.
but we didn't have that experience.
Right.
And I just hope that I know in my heart that she's got the peace now that she never had here.
Right.
And
That's good.
she's not being manipulated and controlled and
Right.
for somebody else's agenda, like she was when she was here, and she felt real guilty about it. But,
Yeah.
and she's in a better place.
That's right. She sure is.
Thanks, Renee. That's all the time we have for today's show. But remember, Life Dynamics is not here to put up a good fight. We're here to win, because winning is how the killing stops.